Okay, what's going on, everybody? We're here, we're alive. Hopefully, you can all see and hear me clearly. And if you can, please do me a favor and drop a one in the live chat. If you can see and hear me clearly, drop a one in the live chat, and then we can get today's show started. And also, while you're doing that, if you're new to the channel, please make sure you hit that subscribe button as well as the bell notification next to the subscribe button so you can be notified whenever I release a new video. Also, make sure you hit the like button so that this goes out throughout the YouTube algorithm and it lets YouTube know that people are interested in this video and that they need to push this live stream out. And lastly, make sure you share this video on your social media platforms. It works the same way throughout the YouTube algorithm. So when YouTube sees that people are clicking on this video from your social media platform that you recommended it on, it also helps to push this video out outside of just letting people know that I'm currently live right now. So I see the ones are starting to come in. Let me just take a quick sip of my drink and then we can get today's show started. Okay, so now we can get today's show started. And as you saw in the thumbnail, right? And shout out to our good brother Rob from Blacklight Revelations 2. Let me put this up there real quick. The thumbnail of today's video is called Guess Who'll Be Policing Black Americans in Chicago, right? Oops, let me put this down. So he said, guess, and then that was the question that I put on the thumbnail, right? And then Rob puts, LMAO, let me take a wild guess. Not the legacy citizens of Chicago. Call it a hunch. No, that's not what's happening. It's definitely not going to be the legacy citizens of Chicago. Now, let's get into exactly what's happening concerning non-citizen policing that may be on the way in Illinois, right? And obviously that's going to translate to the city of Chicago as well. Now, one thing that's very interesting is that when it comes to non-citizen policing and bills of this nature, right? It's very interesting how this stuff kind of happens in the dead of night, right? You don't hear about this anywhere on the mainstream. And even locally, you don't hear about this stuff in your local news. I'm pretty sure if you live in the state of Illinois or if you live in the city of Chicago, you most likely haven't really heard about this too much, what I'm going to get into. The same way that me living in Los Angeles, if I didn't if I wasn't in the, you could say, the line of work that I'm currently in, where people send me this type of information, there's no way that I would have known about this, right? Because here in California, non-citizens are able to join the police force now. And to figure out this news and for me to be able to validate that this was true, the only place at the time that I was able to find this news on in January of this year was on an LGBTQ website. Now, since then, it's appeared on a couple of fringe websites here and there. And I believe there's also an AP News article that's been written. But when I first was informed about this news and that the bill was passed and signed by Gavin Newsom, this LGBTQ website called Blade was the only website that actually had this news covered concerning non-citizen voting. Non-citizen policing being law in California. And I just want to take a quick moment to scroll down so you guys can see this here, right? So give me just a second while I get to the portion that's highlighted. And here it goes. Now, some of you may remember I actually reported on this in January, but as you can see here, SB 960 eliminates a requirement that peace officers be either U.S. citizens or permanent residents applying for citizenship. The law simply requires that anyone applying to be a law enforcement officer be legally authorized to work in the United States. Once again, I couldn't find any information on this anywhere but on an LGBTQ website, right? And I just want to highlight the point that even when you type in SB 960 and Google right now, you still only see this on fringe websites, openstates.org, Liberty, Cassidy, lcwlegal.com, Legiscan, University of California, Davis, Amazon, AWS. So my point is that this type of information isn't being broadcasted out to the masses, right? It happens in silent. Funny enough, when we're talking about things like a reparations task force in California, right? That doesn't happen in silence. Anything concerning Black Americans that may be benefiting Black Americans, particularly as it concerns reparations, right? And the California Reparations Task Force, that's not happening in silent. No, that's being broadcasted for the world to hear so that everybody can put their input in and tell you how much they don't want that to happen. But when it comes to something like this, non-citizen policing, this is happening in the dead of night. I find that very interesting. Now, I want to carry on and move forward to the actual bill that's in play in Illinois. And before we do that, shout out to DSB. Thank you very much. DSB is the first person to contribute to today's stream. Thank you very much, DSB, for your contribution. The contribution that you showed to this channel does not go unnoticed and is definitely appreciated. DSB stated, TD, you looking in good spirits tonight, family. Just remember, we got next, family. Thank you very much, DSB. And DSB is also a channel member as well. So he's doubling down. He's a channel member and he contributed to the super chat as a first contributor to today's stream. There are 208 of you in here right now. Please, if you haven't already, hit the like button. Hit the like button if you have not already. Now, let's get into the actual information that's coming out of Chicago by way of non-citizen policing, because this is very important, because once again, this is something that's happening in the dead of night as well. So let's jump into this while I go back to the article over here. So give me just a second while I scroll over and let's get into what's actually happening in Illinois. Oh, also, before I do that, I almost forgot. As of April of this year, the San Francisco Police Department will be the first police department in California to implement SB 960, non-citizen policing in San Francisco. So let me go through this very quickly for you, right? Because it's very important to see that this isn't stuff that's just passing in the dead of night, right? But it's also being implemented and put into law. And as of April, in San Francisco, as you can see here, and this comes from sanfranciscopolice.org, San Francisco Police Department implements SB 960, California Peace Officer New Requirement 23042. I'm going to read some of this article for you very quickly. It's really short, so let's go through this. The San Francisco Police Department is proud to be one of the first major cities in California to embrace and implement Senate Bill 960. This new law was authored by Senator Nancy Skinner of the East Bay, right? Representative of District 9. And it repeals the requirement to be a United States citizen as a California peace officer. In accordance with the new law, the SFPD has changed its police officer hiring requirements to make eligible all individuals that are legally authorized to work in the United States under federal law, regardless of citizenship. The San Francisco Police Department recognizes the need to attract candidates from all communities and allow them to serve their local areas they live in. Community members recognize the need to see a change in their community, and this new law provides them the platform to be the change. San Francisco Police has prioritized inclusivity, and this recent change is representative of the values of the department. We encourage all newly eligible individuals to apply to become San Francisco police officers today. All right. So San Francisco Police, SFPD, is calling on all non-citizens to join their police department today. All right. Now, let's get over to what's happening in Illinois. Okay. So here's the article that I'm going to reference here, the main article from, I believe it's CBS News Chicago. This article is titled, New Legislation Will Allow Non-Citizens to Become Police Officers. So let's scroll down and have a read and find out a little bit more about this. Let me move this out the way. And shout out to All Gas No Brakes for your contribution to the channel. I'm going to highlight you in just a moment, sir. So give me just a second. So this is coming out of Springfield, Illinois. A bill that would allow let me reset. A bill that would allow non-US citizens to become police officers in Illinois is now on Governor J.B. Pritzker's desk. Federal law states that only US citizens can serve as police officers and deputies. But Illinois' House Bill 3751 would change that for immigrants who are on who are work eligible under federal law. The bill's sponsors called it a natural progression now that some undocumented immigrants can become healthcare workers and military members. But an opponent claims giving non-citizens the right to arrest US citizens would be a breach of democracy. The bill has already passed the state house and Senate. Okay, so as of right now, the bill is still on Governor J.B. Pritzker's desk for him to sign into law. As far as I've seen so far, it hasn't been signed yet. I believe he has a lot of bills on his desk that he's possibly going to sign, and this bill is one of them. He hasn't signed it yet, but this is what's currently happening in Illinois. And I find it very interesting, if you saw that I highlighted as well, where it states here, the bill sponsors call it a natural progression now that some undocumented immigrants can become healthcare workers and military members. And the reason that I have it highlighted is because what you're seeing, if we're being honest here, is the groundwork being laid out for what's eventually going to be non-citizen voting in the state of Illinois in local elections and in the city of Chicago. The groundwork is being set for that because as they're talking about this is the natural progression of things, well, they're already in position to where, as the article says, they can be healthcare workers and they could be military members. So we might as well just let them become police officers, right? And for those of you who don't know, and I believe I did a video about this already, but we're going to go through it again. If I remember correctly, and I don't have to remember correctly because I'm going to go through the article very quickly, but our good friend Brandon Johnson in Chicago, he is putting down a plan to allow non-citizen voting on school boards in Chicago. Now, why is that important? It's important because, once again, it comes back to the whole natural progression of things. Well, if non-citizens can vote in who's going to be a part of the school board, well, then we might as well let them vote for mayor. Might as well let them vote for governor. Might as well let them vote for city council. And just like that, the black vote in Chicago has been completely nullified, right? It's been completely nullified at that point. You're already outnumbered in the city of Chicago when it comes to Hispanics versus Black Americans. But when you add on top of the fact, follow me, that you have a multitude of, quote, migrants being bussed into the city of Chicago, and they're being placed in these Black neighborhoods on the south side of Chicago to live. Not on the side of Chicago where Hispanics live, they're being placed in Black neighborhoods, and they're not going to leave those areas. They're going to plant their roots there, and they're going to live there, and they're going to build their families out there. When you have these busloads of migrants coming into the city, being placed in your neighborhood where they're not going to leave, and then you provide them with work permits, which is on the verge to come. They're going to get their federal work permits so that they can legally work in the United States. Well, once they have their work permits, they're no longer undocumented or illegal, right? Because if they're allowed to work in the United States and they have their work permits, well, they're legal. So not only can they become police officers and they'll be pulling you over, but when it's time for local elections and you're trying to vote in who you want as alderman, who you want as mayor, you can rest assured and believe that their views on how the city should be ran and where resources should be going most likely won't align with yours. Because why would they? They're going to be looking out for themselves the same way Black Americans should have been looking out for themselves. But unfortunately, too many of us were playing the game of vote blue no matter who, which ultimately boomeranged out to be you voting against your own self-interest, right? And now here we are with the situation that we're currently dealing with. Now, I want to go into another article as well that's going to highlight the fact that the groundwork is being laid out, not just for non-citizen policing, but for non-citizen voting in Chicago. But before I get into that, let me shout out our brother once again, All Gas, No Breaks. Thank you for your contribution to the channel, All Gas, No Breaks. All Gas, No Breaks says, ain't nobody doing that in Chicago. Them GD's vice lords will run them off the block. Brandon Johnson is clearly out of touch with the Black community. I'm going to be honest with you, All Gas, No Breaks. I respectfully disagree. I don't think anybody's going to run them off the block. Once you got that badge on your chest, once that badge is on your chest, it's going to be hard to run them off the block with that badge on their chest, right? And if we're going to be honest, and I guess this was going to be my conclusion, but I'll get straight to it right now, just to speak more to what All Gas, No Breaks is saying. If you're going to run anybody off the block, we're going to have to do it by being the ones who join the police departments ourselves. If we're not going to join the police departments, because I know a lot of you all, right? A lot of you are really big on, things like police shootings and police brutality and things of that nature. And it triggers a lot of you and it upsets a lot of you. And I understand. Got it, right? Well, for those of you where that's a really sensitive topic and a really sensitive issue, as we're looking at what's on the horizon for the state of Illinois and for Chicago, how you're going to circumvent this is by you taking up those jobs, right? Our brothers and sisters that are out here looking for work, struggling to get by, whatever, we need to be joining the police departments in Chicago, right? And I don't want to hear anybody saying to me that, us joining the police force, that doesn't do anything. Black cops be the worst ones. And okay, man, you can say that if you want to. But at the end of the day, someone's going to occupy those roles. And it's either going to be us or it's going to be someone with a very strong accent pulling you over, writing you tickets, and putting you in jail. You make the choice on who you want to be pulling you over. Somebody going to pull you over. Are they going to have a strong accent or are they going to look and sound like me? That's up to us to decide. I think that they should look and sound like us, right? So we need to be applying for those jobs and becoming the police ourselves in droves. And if we're not willing to do that, then there's not much to really complain about. You can't, right? Because once again, someone's going to occupy those roles. It's either going to be us or it's going to be someone with a strong accent. That depends on you and not somebody else, right? I think we have one more super chat that I want to get to, and then we can carry on. Shout out to DSB for doubling down. We can say tripling down DSB because he is a channel member. So he's a channel member and 2 super chats. Shout out to DSB. Thank you so much. Thank you very much, brother. DSB says, much love and respect for everything you do, my warrior brother. Facts and truth being spoken. Absolutely. Now, I want to get into this other point of the groundwork being laid out, right? Like I said, the groundwork is currently being laid out, once again, and not just for non-citizen policing, but for non-citizen voting as well in the state of Illinois, because J.B. Pritzker already signed this into law. And while I'm pulling that article up, there are 319 of you in the live stream right now. Please hit the like button so that YouTube understands that people are interested in this content and that this video will permeate throughout the YouTube algorithm and will go out to those who need to hear it. And also make sure you share this on your social media platforms as well, so everyone knows that I'm live. And if you haven't already and you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and hit the bell notification next to the subscribe button. And shout out to everyone who's showing support right now via super chat. I'm going to get to you shortly, but I want to get to this article first. So now let me pull this up for you. Okay. And let me remove, for now, our good brother DSB off the screen. And I want to show you something else. And once again, this has already been signed into law. Okay. This has already been signed into law. Illinois to make standard driver's license available to non-citizens regardless of immigration status. All right. I'm going to repeat that again. Illinois to make standard driver's license available to non-citizens regardless of immigration status. All right. So once again, all the groundwork is laid out. Nobody is illegal anymore at this point in time, right? There is no one illegal. There's no one undocumented because in the state of Illinois, J.B. Pritzker, who is the governor, and the Democratic Senate and the Democratic House that controls Illinois, they're all passing this stuff. Okay. You can't call somebody illegal and undocumented when they have a driver's license and they have a legal work permit to work in the United States. They're going to be voting in your local elections and they're going to be pulling you over with strong accents. Okay. So let me read this really quick. Immigrants in Illinois, with or without permission from U.S. immigration authorities, will soon be able to obtain standard driver's license that can be used for identification. Governor J.B. Pritzker on Friday signed House Bill 3882, which will phase out the temporary visitor driver's license, or TVDL, which non-citizens currently use to drive legally in Illinois. The new law takes effect July 1st, 2024, so it's already in effect now. This legislation is a significant step in eliminating the barriers to opportunity that many undocumented immigrants face. Pritzker said in a statement, we're ensuring every eligible individual can obtain driver's license, making our roads safer, decreasing stigma, and creating more equitable system for all. All right. And let me scroll down here just a little bit more. I just want to read this last portion off. I can't pronounce this person's last name, but I believe it was the one that endorsed, that wrote this bill, Gina Eulis. All right. Office said the documentation will ensure that non-citizens are not added to the voters' roll as part of Illinois' automatic voter registration program. So it appears to me that how it works in Illinois, and you would think that I know how this works, granted that I'm from Chicago. I mean, but anyways, I believe that how it works is that as soon as you, I guess, get your driver's license or whatnot, they automatically register you to be able to vote. I'm assuming, right? Based off of what this sentence says. But they're trying to ensure the citizens of Illinois and Chicago, you can say, that this isn't the case, right? I'm not so sure that you can count on them for that. I'm pretty sure that when they get their driver's licenses, that it will probably somehow automatically register them as voters. I wouldn't be surprised. And that'll be something that you find out in some study like 5 years from now. But once again, what we're looking at is the groundwork being laid out for this stuff to come about. Now, let me hop over to here really quickly, just to show you all once again what I was speaking on concerning non-citizen voting and the groundwork being laid out for that as well, right? I referred to this article multiple times before from the Chicago Sun-Times, and the article is called Mayoral Challenger Brandon Johnson unveils plan to help migrants, refugees, and immigrants, right? And when you scroll down to here, it says among his proposals is to work with Governor J.B. Pritzker, right, who's signing all these bills into law, to work with Governor J.B. Pritzker and the Democratic-controlled Illinois General Assembly. I want to repeat that again. And the Democratic-controlled Illinois General Assembly to pass legislation to allow all parents and taxpayers to vote in school board elections regardless of citizenship status. Okay? So that's why you see when you saw the thumbnail of this video, I didn't just make sure to have JB Pritzker highlighted, right? But you also saw Brandon Johnson as well. Don't think that he isn't in the mix of all of this. He can sit back and say, oh, well, that's, going on in, the state of Illinois as a whole. All this non-citizen voting and, non-citizen policing, this has nothing to do with me. I'm just the mayor of Chicago. This is being done at the top. No, he's in the loop of all of this stuff as well. And he co-signs all of this stuff behind the scenes also. So don't ever think that he's just out of the loop and this has nothing to do with him. Oh, this is just done by the state and he doesn't know what's going on. No, he knows exactly what's going on. He knows what's going on. I think the term is plausible deniability. I think that's the word that I'm looking for. That Brandon Johnson would engage in concerning these matters. Just, I I don't know. I don't know what's happening. That's JB Pritzker and them, right? That's the Democratic controlled House and Senate. No, brother, it's you too. It's you too. You know what's going on, and you co-sign all of this stuff behind the scenes as well. And you're definitely not speaking out against it. Now, there's something else that I want to make it a point to get into also. And I really want to highlight this point to drive everything home as well. As you see here, I have the Democratic controlled Illinois General Assembly. And I want to take a moment to speak directly to that. Okay. But before I do so, there are 347 of you here in the live stream right now. Please, if you haven't already, hit the like button. Hit the like button. There are 347 of you in here right now. If you haven't already, share this video out on your social media platforms. And also, if you're new to the channel, please make sure you hit the subscribe button as well as the bell notification next to the subscribe button so you can be notified whenever I release a new video. And before I get into what I want to get into concerning the State House and Senate in Illinois, I just want to take a minute, to acknowledge those who have contributed to today's show. Thank you very much, Law 064, for your contribution to today's stream. I appreciate it. It does not go unnoticed. Law 064 says, salute TD, my fellow Hotep hooligan. Hotep hooligans in the building, and a Russian bot. Y'all know I'm not a real person, right? I'm not a real person. I'm an AI generated Russian bot powered by artificial intelligence and chat GPT. I'm not real. No one's ever seen me in person in real life. Okay. My cousin is married and CPD denied him twice, but they want illegals now. That's interesting. That's interesting. They denied him twice. I mean, I can't speak to that. I don't know why that would be. And that's why it's also important, once again, going back to what I was saying earlier. I'm not saying that you're lying, obviously. I don't know what's going on, and I take your word for it. But that's why it's also very important as well, going back to what I was saying earlier about Black Chicagoans needing to apply for the CPD in mass. You need to apply in mass now, because granted that this is true, which I believe Law 064, I believe you when you say that. I believe that is true, that they denied your cousin twice, right? They denied him twice. If we're applying now in mass and we're getting denied in the same way that your cousin, who's a Marine, I'm sorry, not married, but your cousin who's a Marine was denied, not married. I read that wrong. Your cousin who's a Marine was denied twice. Well, then that also goes to highlight a greater issue and a deeper issue that's going on within the corrupt Chicago PD and the corrupt Chicago government, right? But we can't highlight these things and bring them to the forefront and present them as being true if we're not applying. You have to apply first. And I believe strongly that Black Chicagoans, Black men, particularly in Chicago, who care about their city as much as they say that they do and have an issue with policing the way that they say that they do, should be applying for these Chicago PD drives in droves. We need to become the police of our own cities and of our own neighborhoods. If we don't do it, somebody else with a strong accent will. Okay. And granted that this is the truth, how we find out that it's really the truth is by us applying in mass, to where you now see a whole bunch of Black men being denied, where they're preferring to hire undocumented immigrants, right? Or non-citizens, I should say. But we can only figure that out if we're applying in droves, right? So let's get into this other contribution right here. Thank you very much, YGLTTB1, who stated, sounds like the white and brown are going to occupy the Black side of town to keep our community safe, If anyone believes that notion, I have some beachfront property on the moon to sell. Any buyers? Exactly. And if you're expecting anyone outside of the people in your own community to keep your community safe, you're a fool. You're a fool. Only we can keep our own community safe. And the best way that we're going to keep it safe is by making sure that we're the ones with the badges on our chest in our own community. That's how we're going to ensure that we're going to keep it safe. Thank you very much also, Walter Wilborn, for your contribution to the channel. It's deeply appreciated and does not go unnoticed. Everyone that has contributed, thank you very much. I deeply appreciate it. And I think we have one more, and then we're going to get into the Illinois General Assembly, right? Roger Meadows says, California Constitution clearly says a United States citizen 18 years of age and resident in the state may vote. Well, let me read that again. California Constitution clearly says a United States citizen 18 years of age and not or resident in the state may vote. Thank you very much for your contribution to today's show, Roger Meadows. I appreciate it deeply. Your contributions to this channel, to all of you, does not go unnoticed. Now, I want to take a moment to get into the Illinois General Assembly, right? I think it's very important that I bring this point home and drive this home. Okay, so let's get back into this. And this also highlights the importance of local politics, something that, you know, I've spoken a lot on this channel over the course of, I'll say, a year and a half at this point. Local politics is so important, right? It's so important because all of this that's happening has nothing to do with Biden and Harris and, you know, what's happening on the national stage. Now, I guess technically it does as it pertains to open borders, but I mean, as it pertains to what's specifically happening in Illinois right now. This is by way of local politics. This is by way of the people that we choose to elect in office in local government, which, if we're being honest, the majority of us are asleep at the wheel when it comes to local politics. We just let anybody get in most of the times, right? We don't pay it no mind. We just get all in a hissy, for lack of better words, over, you know, Biden, Trump, and DeSantis and Gavin Newsom if he throws his hat in, which he probably won't this time around, but probably in 2028. You know, we get up out of our beds for that. But when it comes for, you know, state House of Representatives, state Senate, when it comes to that stuff, now we fall back asleep, right? And we shouldn't. And we shouldn't. And let me highlight this for you right now, right? Also going back to, you know, our religious habit of voting blue no matter who. I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. If the Democrats were who they said they were, there would be no racial wealth gap in the city of Chicago, right? Or in the state of Illinois. If the Democrats were who they said they were, it wouldn't exist, right? And to the degree that it does exist, if it did, it would be minimal or it would be shrinking, right? And here's what I want to highlight to really make proof of that. Let's go to the Illinois General Assembly, right? What you're looking at right now in Illinois General Assembly, and I'll zoom in to make this bigger. This is current Senate members, right? There are 39 Democrats and 19 Republicans, okay? Those are current Illinois Senate members, 39 Democrats and 19 Republicans. I'll make it a little bit bigger for you all, okay? Now, if we go to see who's in the House, right? Let me open a new tab. In the House, we have 78 Democrats and 40 Republicans in the House in Illinois General Assembly. Why is this important for me to point out? And I'll show you this here because, you know, showing pictures and colors and stuff like that works a lot better than just like the numbers as I was presenting them to you. I'm not saying that as a diss to anybody. That works best for me as well. It works best for me as well. But as you can see, Democrats in Illinois completely run the state. They run the Senate, right? As well as the House. Illinois belongs to the Democratic Party. And I was thinking before the live stream started, and I said, well, how many votes are needed to like pass things in the state, right? What do you need? Okay, so all bills need 60 votes in the House, okay? So we're in the state of Illinois, a bill's on the House floor, got it. Need 60 votes. Well, if we come back over here, we see in the House of Representatives in Illinois, they have 78 votes. So passing a bill in the state of Illinois by way of, you know, House of Representatives is a non-issue, You only need 60 votes. Democrat controls 78 of them. All right. Well, what about the Senate? And 30 votes in the Senate. Okay. So come back over here. And as you can see, with Illinois' state Senate, you need 30 votes to pass the Senate, and there are 40 Democrats. So my point is, in the state of Illinois, they can do whatever they want to do right now, okay? And pass whatever bills and legislation within reason. And that's subjective, I guess. What's in reason to you may be different to what's in reason to me and whatnot. But within reason, they can pass anything they want to right now. So the fact that when it comes to Black Americans in the state of Illinois and in the city of Chicago, they just can't come up with any solutions concerning closing the racial wealth gap, concerning crime, concerning murders, concerning everything negative that plagues our community. They just don't know what to do. They can't seem to pass any bills, and everything seems to be a struggle to get done for Black Americans, to the point to where nothing gets done, despite the fact that in Illinois, from top to bottom, from the House, or I should say from the House to the Senate, to the governor's seat, J.B. Pritzker is Democrat from top to bottom. No one can use Republicans as an excuse in the state of Illinois for why nothing gets done for Black Americans. No one can use that as an excuse. How? So when you see nothing moves for Black Americans in Illinois, and particularly in Chicago, when nothing moves, that's because they don't want to make anything happen. They don't want to pass any bills that's meaningful, that'll be helping you, and that's good for your community and good for your city and good for your state. They don't want to. They're not trying to. They don't care. Because if you're just going to give us our vote anyways, if you're going to just give it up for nothing, as we do religiously, voting blue no matter who, then what's the point of me giving you anything? You're going to give me the vote anyways, right? We need to be putting in the state of Illinois mad pressure on these people who completely control the state from top to bottom to get things done for Black Americans in the state of Illinois and in Chicago as a whole, right? There's no excuse. Illinois is completely controlled by Democrats. So how are you going to tell me that you guys can never get anything done? That's a lie. It's not that they can't get anything done. It's that they don't want to get anything done. They don't want to do it. And they're not going to do it if you're always going to just throw your vote away. If you're just going to vote for them regardless. Nothing's going to happen. If there isn't proper organizing practice to get anything done to put pressure on these folks, all right, well, then you get what you get. But in closing, I really just wanted to highlight this point that from top to bottom in Illinois, it is completely Democratic control. And if the Democrats were who they said they were, there would be no racial wealth gap. Your neighborhoods wouldn't be in complete disarray the way that they are. There's no excuse. There's literally no excuse. And you're looking at this in front of your screen right now as we speak, right? So when we go to things like this, because I've heard Brandon Johnson speak on this before, right? How awful he felt and how it was so wrong that, all those schools, majority Black schools, were shut down in Chicago, and how it displaced so many Black Chicago children. That's all BS. The state is controlled Democratic from top to bottom. So that was done because that's what they wanted to do to you. That's what they wanted to do to Black Chicagoans in Chicago, displacing our children by shutting down our Black majority schools over there. They did that because that's what they wanted to do. And if they wanted to make it right, if that's what they wanted to do, once again, if that's what they wanted to do, then they have the numbers to do it. They're just not doing it because they don't want to. But these are the people that are supposed to be looking out for your best interests, right? Democrats are the ones that are on our side, right? Yet they won't fix what they broke. They won't fix what they broke. So I want to thank you all for joining me today. That does it for today's show. I want to take a quick moment to highlight those who contributed to today's stream as well. There are 354 of you in here right now. Please hit the like button if you haven't already. Please hit the like button if you have not already. And, in closing, I want to thank you all for joining me as I read off the contributions to today's show. I hope you found today's show fruitful. Make sure to share this out with your family members and friends and on social media. Also, and if you're new to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. As you can see here, I got good information, and I go in. I definitely go in. I think I'm pretty good at what I do. If I may just pat myself on the back for once, I'm pretty decent at what I do. So shout out to Roger Meadows, who said Illinois Constitution says every U.S. citizen. Thank you, Roger Meadows. I think that's your second contribution to today's show. Thank you very much. Let's see who else. Let's see who I see. Good brother Mo Fax is in the building. Shout out to Mo Fax. Who else do we have here? Papa Onya, Papa Oneaya, Shelly. Thank you very much for becoming a channel member. I appreciate that. Papa Oneaya. Thank you very much. And YGLTB1 says we have been selected to be a permanent underclass in the POC soup line. And every time we get to the front of the line, others are placed in front of us. And when it's finally our turn, no food or jobs are available for us. I believe we can make a change to that. I don't believe that has to be the case. I personally don't believe that has to always be the case. But that depends on us if we're going to organize accordingly to make sure that these things come to an end. And if we're going to take control of our own neighborhoods and our own communities by way of, in this particular instance, joining the police force in mass. That's my recommendation. Join the police force in mass. Black American men in Chicago need to be breaking their necks to get on Chicago PD. Those positions are going to be filled. They're going to be filled. It's up to you whether or not it's going to be filled by someone with a strong accent or whether or not it's going to be filled by you. And if they're actively making it a point to not hire us, well, then if we're applying in mass, we now have the evidence supporting us and backing us that they're actively discriminating against us, right? But you can't figure that out if you're not applying in mass to occupy these roles that I believe that we should be occupying. Let's scroll down just a little bit more to see who else who's showing love to today's show. DSB, once again, thank you very much for the super sticker, brother. Thank you very much, DSB. And I believe we have one person, William, with the Cash App. Thank you very much, William. And thank you very much to everyone who contributed to today's show via financial contribution. Once again, it's deeply appreciated, does not go unnoticed, and it's very humbling for you all to feel it in your hearts to contribute to this show and to contribute to the hard work that I put in on this channel. And in closing, shout out to Roger Meadows once again for tripling down. Roger Meadows said Illinois voters can run citizen ballot initiatives to place their own initiatives on ballot. I don't know what that word I don't know what that's supposed to say. Their own amendments to, you have numbers typed in. I'm sorry, brother. I can't really read this too well. Illinois voters can run citizen ballot initiatives to place their own initiatives, we'll just say on the ballot, right? And their own amendments. And the Illinois constitutions don't need the Dems. Gotcha. Thank you very much, brother, for your contribution. And that does it for today's stream. So I will catch you guys on the next stream. And in between streams, I will be releasing videos here and there, pre-recorded videos. Thank you all for your time. Thank you all for your time. And I'll catch you guys next time. Have a great evening and a safe evening. Peace.